Alright. So listen. Alright guys, can I have 15 minutes y'all sound? Yeah. Awesome, perfect. I timed it earlier, it only takes 15 minutes. So, real quick, I got some stuff to talk. Zayden, you don't have to go. Take a seat, Zayden.
I'm thirsty.
You can get a drink after. We're starting the sermon. If you had asked like 3 minutes ago, I would have budget. But, alright, listen. How many of y'all are good at remembering? How many of y'all have good memory? Probably y'all. I have a horrible memory. I forget everything. How many of y'all remember your childhood very much? Like you remember, like when you were a baby. You remember being white and pooping your pants all the time. Oh, very nice. All right. How many of y'all? Listen, eyes on me. How many of y'all remember the questions on tests? A couple of y'all do. Very nice. All right, eyes on me, guys. Eyes on me. So how many of y'all say you remember names? Are y'all good at names? Guys, I love y'all. I am horrible with names. Please don't take it personally that I will forget your name instantly. It'll take a while, and I will learn it. Got Kobe. So guys, I'm trying to remember names. All right, guys, listen. So, memory is hard, guys. Listen. Lorenzo. Okay. Guys, I need everyone's attention. All right, listen. So, a lot of us have bad memories, but I have a good test memory. Like, I'm not good at remembering names or anything, but I'm good at tests. Guys, listen. Ask afterwards. So listen. I was in college, and there was a test. There was what's it called? Yeah, it's right there. All the people in my department had to take this test, and it was very hard. There was called church history, and you had to memorize 75 events. But out of that, you had to memorize the date, the name of the event, and something interesting about it. So not 75, you had to memorize 225 things. And on the test, the teacher would give you one of those things, and you'd have to fill in both, but you don't know what's going to happen, so you have to memorize all of them. I have smart friends. How many of y'all raise your hand if you have smart friends? Very nice, hands down. I have smart friends. My smart friends, guys, they started studying. Listen. I had smart friends who they started studying at the beginning of the semester. They studied a long time. And me, I was like, I don't need it. And they started studying, they worked hard, they did all this stuff. I didn't start studying until 7 o'clock the night before. And it was an 8 a.m. test. But I memorized, I studied, I did everything for 6 hours. And then I went in, and what do y'all think I got on the test? Some failed, some passed. I got 100 on that test. And do you know how my friends felt? So guys, please stop messing with balloons. It's distracting to everyone. Please stop. Please take points from both teams real quick. So guys, all my friends that were smart, about half of them failed the test. And my friends were furious at me that I studied for like 2 seconds and then got 100. Now, how many of y'all think I still know any of that stuff? I don't know any of it. I did it for the test and then it went out of my head. And that's how a lot of us are. And now here's one thing. I know, because guys, y'all are teens, how many of y'all know a friend that has been in a bad relationship, they've been treated bad, and then, listen, and then they break up with them, and then they go date another bad person. You'd think they'd learn, right? No, they don't. They forget. It's like, guys, I asked you. It's all of you. Please stop. Guys, listen. But so God, everyone, we forget. People have bad memories. We mess up. We do all this stuff. And here's a reality that I don't like, but I know it's true. I'm a youth pastor. Y'all guys are the students. Y'all are going to forget 99% of the things I say. You will forget 99% of the things I say. And the reality is I know that because I went through a youth group and I remember almost nothing. But the reality is you're not going to really remember what I say. And that's sad for me because I spend a lot of time, guys, I promise, I spend a lot of time prepping these lessons. I work to make sure I give you all the right words. I try to come up with funny anecdotes. I try to give you all the best stuff. But the reality is y'all are going to forget 99% of that, and I'm okay with that. What I don't want you to forget is your encounter here, your experience. Because I want y'all not to come and hear and remember my words, but I want y'all to remember and experience God. And that's part of something you have to be willing to be part of that experience. If you're messing with people and all of a sudden you're gonna leave here and remember zero. You're gonna forget all of them. But if you're willing to say, I'm gonna be part of something and want to experience it, you're gonna remember maybe not the words, but you're gonna remember what you experienced. Now, and the thing is, guys, I want to tell you that it is okay to forget. It's okay to be forgetful. I'm forgetful, and the disciples were forgetful. Can anyone tell me who the disciples were? Can you? Who were the disciples? Jesus' followers. Because we talk about Jesus, and Jesus had like 12 solid guys that he had chosen. They were his disciples. They were his main guys. They were his buddies. And they spent 3 years together doing God's word, going and like spreading the news, loving people, doing miracles, all this stuff. They spent 3 years with him. And then, like on Easter, we celebrate Jesus was arrested, murdered on the cross, and then on the third day he rose again. And after this, in the Bible, there are 13. Everyone say 13. There are 13 times that Jesus appears back to people after his resurrection. And 13 times it's recorded that he comes and he says, hey, guys, I'm back. I'm alive. It's okay. And one of those times, so this is after some of those things, the disciples had already seen Jesus was alive. But in the book of John, in the chapter 21, he goes like this, and they're talking, and it's just the disciples sitting there, and they get bored. And at one point, Peter, who used to be a fisherman before he met Jesus, he's like, I want to go fishing. I'm just going to go fishing. And about 6 of the disciples were like, about 6 of the disciples were like, yeah, let's go. And so about 6, 7 disciples, they went and they got on a boat and they went fishing. And what they did, they didn't have the poles. What they did, they had nets. And those guys, they took the net, they put it in the water, and waited until it filled up, and then they pulled it back in. They pull all the fish. But they were out there all night long. How many fish do you think they caught? 0. They were out there all night long, and they caught nothing. And they're sitting there. I mean, guys, I get bored like in 2 seconds. If I do some work, I'm like, just do it. I go back and do something else. But they were out there all night working and got nothing. In the morning, as the sun was coming up, they saw this guy. They saw this guy on the beach. And this guy yelled out, he's like, hey! Everyone say, hey! Hey! Everyone say, hey! That was so sad. Alright. A little late though. So this guy said, hey, and the disciples turned and they listened. And the guy's like, hey guys, try throwing the net on the other side of the boat. And how many of y'all are good at something, and then when someone tells you like how to do that one thing, you kind of feel insulted? You're like, obviously I tried that. Obviously, like whether you're playing video games and like, just go kill that guy. It's like, what do you think I'm trying to do? And like you were good at something. So guys, I feel like as the disciples, they'd be like, we obviously tried that side. But they were like, you know, whatever. And they took the net and they threw it on the other side. And immediately it filled up with fish. And they were pulling it in, but it was so full that they really couldn't pull it in. And immediately John, the disciple, he looks and he turns to Peter and he's like, dude, that's Jesus. And Peter realizes that he takes off his coat and he jumps in the water and he swims to shore. And the other disciples, they bring in the fish. And once they get there, Jesus is actually, he's there and he's, Amber, if you talk to him, just see what's going on. He's there, he's talking, and they come up, and Jesus already has breakfast made for them. He's got fish on the fire. Isaac. He had the fish on the fire, cooking breakfast. He doesn't like sushi for breakfast. But they get ready to eat breakfast. And he invites them and they come and they get to spend time with Jesus. And while they're there, Jesus turns to Peter and he says this. He says, Peter, do you love me? And Peter's like, Jesus, yeah, I love you, man. I'm like, bro. And then they continue talking for a while. And then Jesus turns to Peter again and says, bro, do you love me? And he's like, yeah, I love you. Jesus, I love you. And Jesus replies and says, feed my sheep. And then a little bit later, it says in John 21:17, the verse is up there, it says this. The third time he asked him, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Peter was hurt that Jesus asked the question the third time. He said, Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you. Jesus said, then feed my sheep. He's not, guys, just to let you know, it's a metaphor. It's not literally talking about sheep, but Jesus is talking about this. Peter went back to, after like 3 seconds after Jesus being there, he went back to the same thing he'd always known. He went back to fishing. It was like nothing had even changed. He went right back to the same old stuff. And Jesus was like, if you love me, you're going to change your life. Let's feed my sheep. He's talking about, he says, because the sheep was God's church, was the body. And he was talking about going and loving and leaving the body. If you want to, Jesus says this and he says it 3 times, it feels kind of insulting, but the reality is, how many of us forget what we're called to do? How many of us, if I go and say, hey, do you love Jesus? Are you going to be able to say yes? And then if Jesus says that, is he going to say, well, then I need you to give up this? Do you love Jesus? Then stop lying. Do you love Jesus? Then stop living in sin. As humans, we fall right back into the same old sin over and over and over again. It's like nothing has changed. We forget. Some of us struggle with addiction. I know I've been in there. And we struggle with addiction. And you get a Jesus moment. You go to camp and you're like, good God, I love you. You're awesome. I'm never going to do it again. But then a couple weeks later, you kind of you even forget a little bit what has happened and why you stopped in the first place, and you go back to the same old thing. Some of us, you go to church and you learn, okay, I need to work on that. I need to give God my depression. I need to give God my pride. I need to give that to Him. But then a couple days later, we kind of forget and we go back to the same old life. Do you love Him? If you love God, if you want to choose Him, if you want to live differently, then you need to live differently. If you want to be able to answer to God and say, yes, I love you, and be honest and truthful, it will show in your life, where people won't have to ask. I won't have to ask Derek if he loves Jesus, because I want to see him loving others like Jesus loves him. Amen. I'm not going to have to ask Luis if he loves Jesus, because I see what he does and see how he treats others and forgives. I'm not going to have to ask Yadi. I'm not going to have to ask Jeremiah. I'm not going to have to ask Chloe or Lexi. I'm not going to have to ask anyone if you love Jesus, if I'm able to see it. But if you're living just like every other day, if you're doing everything like nothing's ever changed, and you live like you've forgotten, do you really love Jesus? Bow your heads, close your eyes. Tonight, God, I pray for these students. I pray that you work in their lives. I know how easy it is to forget. I know how easy it is to go back to the same old stuff. I know how easy it is to fall back into depression, to fall back into addiction, to fall back into pride, to fall back into unforgiveness, whatever it is. It's so easy, God. But I pray that you work in the lives of these students. Let them be willing to be changed. Let them be willing to live differently. God, you are so good, and you love these students. You gave your life for them. You came back for them because you saw them and loved them where they were at, and you wanted to work in their life. God, I pray that you be with these students. I pray that you let them know that they're loved. Be working in their hearts. Let them be willing to be changed. to not go back into the same old stuff. I know they won't remember these words, but I pray they remember you. It's not about me, it's not about the words, but it's about your love that changed them. So please work in their lives, work in their hearts, be with them. God, we trust you, we praise you. This is your heavenly name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, real quick before you get up, if you want to be a part of either the Flag Route Ministry or to sell butter braids and ribs and get money to go to camp and all that other stuff, I'm going to ask you guys to come up here in a second. So y'all guys are the best team in the world. I love you. You are dismissed. Come up here if you want to help. Okay, what do you want?